November last year, God got my attention, changed my life. I left my dream job to come back home to Louisiana. I do not like Louisiana, but I knew that God wanted us to be back here. We've been talking to friends and family since we got back and telling them that the rapture is happening soon. I did not have a date at the time. All I knew was I felt this urgency I've never felt before in my life. I grew up in a Christian home. For over 30 years, I've heard that we are living in the end times and in the last days, and the rapture could happen at any moment. I have never felt urgency until November. Since around February, God was pointing out harvest time to me. I've been pretty much telling people I was expecting the rapture to happen by late summer or early fall. Again, still didn't have a specific date, but that's the time frame that I felt like God was pointing out. When I heard about Joshua's vision, I took it seriously because it was the time frame I was already looking at. I compared it to the Bible. I prayed about it. I prayed for confirmation, and he gave me 3 things immediately within 12 hours. I'm going to recap that in a minute, but there has been so much that I really, really do believe that this is happening next week. I'm not going to say 100% that it will, but the confirmations that God has given me seems to be pointing to next week. My husband wanted me to request off work for September 23rd. So I requested off and it was denied. And I wasn't stressing about it. But Thursday in the car, I prayed and I asked God, whenever the rapture happens, whether it is next week, next month, next year, can you please just arrange things where I can be home with my family when it happens? Not on the road, not at work, just please let me be home with my family. I asked that he would let the car not start or send bad weather or something where work would be canceled. Just throwing out some options like he doesn't already know. But those were the options I suggested. About 4 hours later, I was fired. A month ago, they gave me 2 extra PTO days because I had been doing such a good job. And I was fired for something that has been going on for over 6 months, but suddenly became a problem now. I wasn't mad about it. Instead of being upset about not having a job, all I felt was peace. It was just another confirmation. Instead of being at work next week, I'm going to be home with my family the entire week. If we're still here, by the end of next week, I'm going to start job hunting again. But for now, I am able to be home. I am able to focus on God. I am able to talk to people. I'm able to be with my family. I'm able to rest, and I am thankful for that. The other confirmations that I got was August 20th was the original time that I prayed and asked. And I didn't ask him, if you're coming on September 23rd, can you send me confirmation and let me see these numbers? I prayed and said, I know that you're coming soon. I know that you have been showing me that. Everyone is talking about Feast of Trumpets. From what I've read, it seems to add up. It's okay if you don't want to tell me the exact date. I'm not asking for it. But if you're coming before October, can you please just send me something where I know for sure it is you talking? It's not something that I can be reaching or questioning. Is that my imagination or is that you? Can you please just confirm that it is you? And pretty much immediately, I saw the license plate in front of me and I read it as Exodus 22. I opened the Bible app in my phone and I'm telling myself I'm crazy, but I read the entire chapter in the Bible app on my phone, looking to see if it said anything about Feast of Trumpets or the end times or anything that seemed to be prophetic. Didn't seem to be anything significant at all. So I wrote it off as me being crazy and didn't really think anything else of it. This was August 20th on a Wednesday. That evening, a few hours later, we were at church and the pastor was reading and going back and forth for different verses. And I started thinking about Exodus 22 again. And I told myself, I'm getting distracted. I need to be focusing on what the pastor is saying. and I couldn't let it go. So I ended up flipping to it in my physical Bible. And in my Bible, it has a chart on the Feast of Israel. All 7 of the feasts are mentioned. And it specifically talks about the prophetic significance with the Feast of Trumpets and the rapture. That was enough for me. I was good with it. Later that evening, we came back home. That night, I'm trying to sleep and I couldn't sleep. And so I just kept praying. And Daniel 9 popped into my head. So I went to the book of Daniel and I read the 9th chapter, the entire chapter, specifically focusing on the 70 weeks. And nothing seemed to pop out. I've been reading that several times since November last year. And after a while, I was like, okay, well, it doesn't seem to be anything new. So I went to TikTok and started scrolling. And after just a few videos, I saw a comment on someone else's video about Bible stuff. And the top comment was talking about Daniel's 70 weeks, but they said something that I had never heard before. So Daniel 9:24 and 25 is talking about the 70 weeks for Jerusalem. And it talks about hold on, I actually have it written out. Just a second. All right, so it says 70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the command to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until his Messiah the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The streets shall be built again and the wall even in troublesome times. That was nothing new for me. Whenever Nehemiah rebuilt the wall, Jesus came into Jerusalem 483 years later. And he wept because the Pharisees, they didn't recognize him. They were literally given a countdown to the time that he was coming, and no one realized it. We have been in a prophetic pause waiting for the last 7 years, the last week, Jacob's trouble. That is going to start with the signing of the covenant with the many. But the walls have been destroyed and rebuilt again since then. There are prophecies in the Bible that have dual prophecies. They've been fulfilled once and they'll be fulfilled again. Some of those prophecies start off with in those days and at that time, kind of signifying it's going to have 2 fulfillments. Babylon, that's another one. But with this one, the walls were rebuilt in 1535. 70 weeks are 490 years. 490 years from 1535, when these walls were most recently rebuilt, brings you to 2025. That was something that was completely new for me. And I have been researching heavily into prophecy and stuff since November last year. This was within 12 hours of praying for confirmation. I get Exodus, a chart of all the feasts. I get Daniel taking me to something that points to 2025. And I tried to go back to sleep. Kept praying, couldn't sleep, and God gave me a word teshuvah. I didn't even know if it really was a word at first. It kept repeating in my head though, so I got up and I Googled it. It is a Hebrew word that I'd never heard before, and it means to repent or return to God. In modern Hebrew, it can also mean an answer to a question, which I found out later and thought was kind of funny. It specifically begins on the month of Elul. The month of Elul started on August 24th and 25th. That month, the entire month, is the month of the bride. It's focused on repenting, returning to God, making yourself ready like a bride preparing for her groom's return. This is leading up to the Jewish high holy days. Elul ends right at Feast of Trumpets. I don't think that is coincidence. He gave me this word on August 20th. It began 4 or 5 days later. None of that would have been significant to me if he hadn't given me the word first. For the first time in over 2,000 years, they blew the shofar on the Temple Mount for the month of Elul this year. There is so much pointing to possibly next week. Please make sure that you are ready. Make sure that you know you are right with God. Talk to your loved ones. No one is promised tomorrow, regardless of whether it happens tomorrow, next week, next month. It's coming soon. Please make sure that you are ready.